kind of wild to think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not that long ago, just having a basic voice assistant on your phone felt really futuristic. And now we're seeing, serious talk about AI designing molecules or even controlling devices with our thoughts.
Yeah.
Trying to keep up with it all can feel just impossible sometimes.
It really can. I mean, the speed things are evolving at across so many different fields.
Right.
It's amazing, but yeah, tough for anyone to really get a handle on what's truly important.
That's exactly why we're doing this. So welcome to the deep dive.
Right.
This is where we take that huge, overwhelming pile of information, all the articles, studies, the online buzz, and we try to boil it down to the key insights just for you.
Think of it as a filter.
Exactly. Your shortcut to being well-informed, maybe with a few surprising details thrown in.
And for this deep dive, we've pulled together a really interesting mix of sources, I think. We're going to dig into the AI model advancements, obviously, and how they're actually being used, practical business stuff, but also some of the bigger questions they bring up.
Okay.
We'll also touch on some cool hardware things happening and even look at how tech intersects with how we understand ourselves and society.
So our mission today is pretty simple, really. Cut through the noise, pinpoint the most significant takeaways, maybe the unexpected ones too.
Help you see the bigger picture.
Exactly. Help you grasp what really matters and hopefully have a few aha moments.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it.
All right. Let's dive right into the big one, artificial intelligence. There's so much chatter about how powerful new models are getting, but there's a piece in Nate's newsletter that made a great point.
Which one?
It said something like, the best model in careless hands is worse than useless.
Right. That really stuck with me too.
Yeah.
It's not just about having the fanciest AI, is it? It comes down to how you handle the data you feed it.
Precisely. And that same newsletter talked about this concept, the narrow pipe law, which I thought was quite insightful.
Okay, the narrow pipe law. Explain that a bit more.
Sure. So the basic idea is that if you carefully choose and really focus the data you give an AI, even the models we have now can perform much better.
Like filtering the input.
Exactly. Instead of just dumping a massive, messy data set on it, you give it a specific, clean stream of just the relevant stuff. They used a Slack channel example, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
By feeding the AI only the essential info from one focused channel, the output gets way more precise, way more useful. It kind of pushes back against the bigger is always better idea for AI training.
Towards more targeted data.
Yeah, refined data sets, which, brings up questions about where you get that high-quality niche data, and could specialized AIs actually beat the big general ones on specific tasks?
Yeah, that makes total sense, like the old, garbage in, garbage out.
Pretty much.
But it also feels like the models themselves are getting way better, incredibly fast. I was reading in What I Tell My Mom About AI that some people are saying they're like 2-3x more effective now using these tools.
That's right. The underlying tech is definitely leaping forward, and there's loads of anticipation for what's next, even more capable models. And that effectiveness, that's driving adoption, expanding what AI can actually do.
That progress also brings up some tricky stuff, right?
Yeah.
Especially in creative areas, like art.
Oh, absolutely. That debate about whether AI art is truly art. It keeps popping up. There was that piece, is AI art truly art? That really got into the weeds on it.
Yeah, it's not just about aesthetics, is it?
Not at all. I mean, defining art itself is tricky enough, like the piece explored, but the process behind AI art is a huge sticking point.
You mean how it's trained?
Exactly. Training models on existing human-made art, often without permission. Is that just using artists' work without credit? That's a big concern. And beyond just copyright, it gets into fundamental questions about, human intention, lived experience. Does that matter for art? Could AI art change how we even think about those things, or will it always feel derived?
It definitely feels like new ground. And just when you think you're getting your head around the models, now there's talk about new ways for them to interact with everything. I saw a critical look at MCP.
Yes, the protocols.
Yeah.
MCP, ACP, A2A.
Yeah. It sounds like they're trying to build some common ground, some standards for how these AI agents work.
That seems to be the goal. These protocols are basically trying to standardize how AI agents talk to other software, maybe even to each other eventually.
Okay.
Like MCP Model Context Protocol is focused on creating a kind of instruction set, an API for LLMs to act as agents. An API is like the rules for software communication. Then you have ACP from IBM, Agent Communication Protocol, and Google's agent-to-agent, A2A. They're looking more at agents talking directly to other agents.
So different approaches.
Yeah, it's moving fast, lots of experimentation. The author of that MCP piece did raise some valid points about the complexity of some early ideas. Think of it like trying to create a common language, a grammar, for AIs that currently speak different dialects.
Right, so they can actually work together better.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so AI is evolving fast, technically, but how is that actually, changing things in the real world, in practice?
Well, we are starting to see some really tangible effects. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal recently about Moderna.
Oh, yeah. What about them?
They decided to merge their tech and HR departments, which is pretty interesting.
Merging tech and HR. Why?
It seems like a proactive move, rethinking their whole workforce structure because of AI. They're looking hard at what tasks humans do thus, what can be automated, and that's leading to new kinds of jobs, redefining old ones. It might be a sign of a bigger trend, companies integrating tech and HR more strategically, not just for automation, but for understanding their workforce better. Maybe traditional departments matter less now.
Wow, that is a significant shift.
Yeah.
It really shows AI isn't just for tech tasks. It's hitting organizational structure, people management.
Exactly.
And speaking of that human-machine connection, I was blown away by the news. Saw it mentioned in one of the articles about Apple working on support for brain implant control for its devices.
Yeah, that sounds like pure sci-fi, doesn't it?
Totally.
But the potential there, especially for accessibility, is incredible. Apple is apparently working on a standard, so neural signals from implants like from Synchron or Neuralink could control iPhones, iPads.
Who would that help?
Think about people with severe spinal cord injuries or conditions like ALS, people who maybe can't use their hands at all. This could be life-changing. The article drew a parallel to how Apple created a standard for hearing aids using Bluetooth, which became widely adopted.
That's amazing potential.
Right.
But it's not all smooth sailing bringing AI into the real world, is it?
I saw 6 AI product principles no one tells you, again in Nate's newsletter, mentioned a crazy high failure rate for AI product launches, like 75%. Yeah, that's a sobering number.
Yeah.
And the piece had some good points on why that might be. It talked about building trust loops with users.
Trust loops?
Yeah, because AI works on probabilities, right? It can be wrong or do unexpected things. So you need things like showing the AI's reasoning, easy ways to get human help, instant undo buttons, tracking when users are unhappy.
Like safeguards?
Kind of. They used Klarna's experience as an example where relying too heavily on their chatbot backfired, frustrated customers, and they had to rehire human agents. The piece argued it needs more than just tactics. It needs a real mindset shift for companies launching AI stuff.
Gotcha. That article also mentioned something about wake words in ChatGPT. Sounded like a neat little productivity hack.
Oh yeah, that was another interesting bit from Nate's newsletter. Wake words are basically custom one-word shortcuts you can set up.
For prompts.
Exactly. You tell ChatGPT, when I say summarize, run this complex prompt. Saves a ton of time if you do certain things often. Just a smart way to personalize it, make it more efficient.
Okay, so AI is getting woven into software, hardware, even our bodies potentially. But what about other tech shifts? I noticed that piece from Tom's Hardware about Tiny Corp doing something unusual, an external GPU running over USB 3.
Yeah, that's definitely unconventional.
Why? What's the big deal?
Well, normally, external GPUs need really fast connections, like PCIe or Thunderbolt. Think of them as big data highways. USB 3 is more like a regular road. Much slower. So this approach, like Tom's Hardware described, uses that slower USB 3 connection. They're trying it on systems that don't usually support external GPUs, including Apple Silicon Macs.
Apple's new chips.
Right. It's described as hacky because it bypasses the normal ways GPUs work with the operating system and really pushes USB 3 to its limit. But it could be a workaround for people needing more graphics power, maybe for AI tasks, on machines that don't offer upgrades.
So like a clever, if slightly messy, solution.
Kind of. The hacky part is like finding a way to squeeze way more water through that smaller pipe than it was built for. It works, but maybe not perfectly smoothly.
Fascinating. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Some sources went into more abstract territory, but still really important. I was really struck by that neurocomplexity idea from gifted then, autistic ADHD now.
Yeah. That's a very thought-provoking perspective.
It suggests these labels we use, gifted autistic ADHD, might be more linked than we think.
That's the proposal, that they could be different expressions of the same underlying neurocomplex wiring, just depending on things like support, resources, burnout levels.
The complex wiring.
Yeah, a brain wired perhaps more intricately, more interconnectedly. The idea is with the right support, it looks like giftedness. Under stress or without resources, it might present more like autism or ADHD.
And that connects to workplace challenges, right? Like
Yeah.
in that piece, having a boss without losing your neurocomplex marbles,
Oh,
micromanagement, social expectations.
exactly. Those articles really stress the need for autonomy, clear structure, understanding different social needs for neurocomplex individuals. Micromanagement can cause anxiety, shutdowns, constant pressure for small talk, or mandatory socializing can be exhausting.
So recognizing and accommodating those differences is key.
Absolutely. Clear communication, consistent expectations.
Yeah.
It's vital for creating environments where that kind of wiring can thrive, not just struggle.
Okay. Another shift.
Yeah.
In our very digital world, seems like we need more verification. That Wired article, the one about deepfakes and scams, it really hammered that home.
Oh, definitely. Deepfake scams and the age of paranoia, I think it was called. With sophisticated deepfakes, AI-generated scams, people are getting much more cautious, and rightly so. The article pointed out how even professional-looking interactions can be fake now. It mentioned Nicole Yellen doing these multi-step background checks before even agreeing to meetings.
Wow.
Yeah, it just highlights how trust in purely digital stuff is eroding. We need more ways to verify things are real.
Right. Okay. Slightly different tack. Sociology of Business had a piece on brand stewardship, used a ship metaphor. Sales for growth, anchors for stability.
That's the one. The core idea is that good brand stewardship needs both. The drive to grow and innovate the sales, but also a strong, stable foundation. The anchors.
So balance.
Yeah, and leaders acting like long-term caretakers, focusing on culture, values, the future, not just next quarter's results. It's about an ownership mindset, adapting creatively, understanding how the whole organization fits together. Culture becomes strategy. The question it leaves you with is how do companies build those anchors today while still being agile enough for growth?
Good question. Okay, let's move into personal growth, engagement. I like the take in that piece. Don't like it. Thank you. It was about visibility, criticism.
Yeah, quite refreshing, wasn't it? It basically encourages creators to just be seen, even if that invites criticism.
How so?
The author suggested that negative feedback, especially if it's about how you present something, not just disagreement, can actually mean people are paying attention, engaging. In a world overflowing with content where getting noticed is hard, even a negative reaction means someone stopped, cared enough to react. That has value. It's a reminder to put yourself out there and see feedback, all kinds, as part of the process.
Interesting take. And for engineers thinking about freelancing, Gregor Ostrasek's newsletter had some points about why it's good beyond just money.
Totally. It argued freelancing can seriously boost your career growth.
Oh.
By giving you way more varied experiences, chances to learn new skills quickly. Working on different projects, different companies, you get a broader perspective, become a better problem solver than maybe staying in one role for ages. The author even shared how freelancing was key for them becoming a CTO.
Right. And Oscar Dudas's newsletter had tips for getting speaking gigs at conferences.
Yeah, some really practical advice there. Focus on clear, compelling abstracts, really explain what the talk is and why it's valuable.
Make it obvious.
Exactly, and back it up. Link to your work, show examples of you speaking if you can, be specific about your unique insights. He also said, start smaller user groups, local events, build experience before aiming for the big stages. And crucially, just try. Don't let rejection stop you.
Good advice. One of the pieces that really made me pause was the cost of crying on ChatGPT's shoulder. It raised some flags about relying too much on AI for, emotional stuff.
Yeah, that was a thoughtful one. It explored how, AI might offer comfort, even solutions, but leaning on it too heavily for emotional processing could have hidden costs.
Like what?
Like maybe detaching us from our own gut feelings, our intuition. If we constantly ask AI to explain our emotions or intellectualize things, do we lose connection with ourselves and with real relationships? It raised concerns about AI externalizing our ability to process feelings, maybe hindering real interpersonal skills, especially when loneliness is already a big issue.
Yeah, that's something to think about. More practically, there was that piece, Where Are You on Your AI Journey?
Yeah.
It laid out 5 phases of skill development.
Yeah, a useful little framework. It goes from just using AI like a fancy search engine all the way up to really integrating and orchestrating different AI tools in complex ways.
So you can see where you fit.
Right. And it helps you see where you could grow, how to use AI maybe more effectively. For beginners, it suggested focusing on understanding how AI works, not just firing simple questions at it.
Got it. And finally, just a brief mention in Conclave Core and Ego Scrolling about Gen Z's spiritual rebrand. That sounds intriguing.
It does. It just highlights how cultural trends are always shifting, often in ways you don't expect. How different generations engage with spirituality, identity. It's always evolving. A reminder that tech and societal shifts often go hand in hand, leading to surprising places.
Wow. Well, that was quite a journey, wasn't it? Through a really diverse range of topics, but all kind of linked by this thread of rapid change.
Absolutely. Our goal was really to give you that concise but hopefully insightful overview. Show how these things connect from AI tech details to real-world use, ethical questions, even personal impact and social shifts.
Right. So thinking about all this incredible pace of change and everything we've just touched on, here's a final thought for you, listening in. What single area out of all this do you find the most compelling? Or maybe the most potentially disruptive in the near future?
And what other questions does that raise for you?
Yeah. Definitely keep exploring these topics. There's certainly a lot to think about.